Hello and welcome to another video from Gameplay for All Seasons, the channel where we discuss all things gaming, be that new games, old games and upcoming games. If you want to keep up to date with all the new videos and content that's coming out, then hit that subscribe button. So with the PlayStation 5 out there now, or at least apparently out there, I've seen people on Twitter post pictures, it's a good time to sit back and think about some great games that there's been on the PS4. Now, we all know there's been a whole host of great games. Your God of Wars, your Horizon Zero Dawn, Red Dead Redemption 2, Witcher 3, the list goes on and on. But I've just picked 5 games here that potentially you may have missed. That if you have, now is the time to pick them up, give them a go before we move over to the next generation. Now, we begin with a bit of cult classic here, so Until Dawn. Now, this is a horror survival game. It's essentially as if you're playing a film, but it's actually a good film with a good story and great actors, so it really is fun to watch, let alone play. What you do is you're playing with 6 teenagers who go away to a log cabin up in the mountains somewhere. It's not long before the horror begins, unsurprisingly. And like I say, it's completely gripping. There's a great system called the butterfly effect, which the decisions you make or how quickly you tap your buttons in the right order, the story will actually change. So the ending will change, who survives will change, and what have you. So fantastic game, great for replayability. If you haven't played Until Dawn, you should play it. You've probably heard about it because, as I say, it's a bit of a cult classic. But if you've not, get in there, get it now before we move over to the next generation. So for game number 2, we go from a horror survival game to a management sim. So completely different genre here. Now, this game's called 2 Point Hospital, but if you've played Theme Hospital, a not great game from the 90s, then you'll know exactly what you're in for here. Now, I was going to start talking about all the great management sims from the 90s in this video, but I've actually decided that's worth a whole video on its own. So if you want to wait for that, hear that video, then why not subscribe? You'll be the first one to see it when it comes up. As I say, if you've played Theme Hospital before, then you know exactly what you're in for. If you haven't, then 2 Point Hospital is a sort of fun game, doesn't take itself too seriously. You get illnesses like light bulb head, mummification, all things like that, and it's fun graphics. So it's just a real fun game, doesn't take itself too seriously, but there's a lot of content here. Potentially it can get a bit samey when you get really, really deep into the game, but that is a good few hours in. So if you want to play something a bit different, you've probably not heard of management sim, then 2 Point Hospital is the way to go. So changing genres once again for game number 3 is Yakuza 6. So this time it's a JRPG. What's there to say about Yakuza 6? You've probably heard of it, or at least the Yakuza series. Personally, my favourite of them is Yakuza 6. Potentially controversial. I'm sure if you read online you'll see not too many other people agree. But I say, if you've got a PS4, go for Yakuza 6. The graphics are good, they've been enhanced, it's definitely a good one to go for. The game itself is a bit of a crazy game. You eat, you drink, you have all sorts of fights where you can learn all sorts of moves. You can play baseball, you can go to the gym, you have all sorts of crazy missions. All the while, you're this Yakuza figure going through, so it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got a serious side to it as well. So if you haven't checked it out, Yakuza 6, highly recommend it. So for game number 4 now, this time we're going for a turn-based strategy game. So once again, completely different genre, and it is XCOM 2. Now, not that many people have probably heard of this. If you have and you've played it, then I'm sure you absolutely love the game, because most people do. Now, how would I describe it? Well, it's a bit like a fancy game of chess with aliens in it. Now, in all seriousness, it's a lot more involved than just chess, but it is essentially a fancy board game in a computer. But it's great fun to play. It's very, very different. And as I say, those who've played it really do love the game. So if you haven't checked it out, XCOM 2. Now, game number 5 is an Assassin's Creed game. And in fact, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, I know you're thinking, how can you put an Assassin's Creed game in as one you might have missed? Now, the reason I've done that is because I very nearly did miss this game, because the year before, Assassin's Creed Origins come out, which was set in Egypt, and then a year later, this one comes out, set in Greece. My assumption would be it's only a year later, it's going to be the same game, different scenery, which is maybe slightly true, but there's a lot extra things they put in here. There's a great system that they use for your enemies, which is quite fun to sort of go around, pick out your enemies, work your way up through the bosses until you get towards the later part of the game. The scenery is great, the storyline's good, the acting's good as well, and it's really nice to involve some of the myths as well. So maybe you missed this because you had too many Assassin's Creed, or maybe thought there wasn't enough time between them, but this really is my favourite Assassin's Creed game. So even if you've played the others, if you haven't played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I suggest you go out there, pick it up. So there you have it. Those are my 5 games that are great on the PS4 that you may have missed. If you have missed any of those, go and pick them up. I'd love to know in the comments if you have played them and what you think, and whether you agree that each one of those are a great game. If you like this video, then hit the thumbs up. If you want to hear more videos like this, there'll be plenty coming, so hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications. Till next time.